Three of the most common eating disorders are anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. And these can show up at any age for teens, adolescents, and young adults. Contrary to popular belief, when we think about eating disorders and when we hear the language around it, we think that it's only related to food. But what research has shown and what clinical data has shown is that oftentimes disordered eating patterns and eating disorders are really related to perfectionism, anxiety, need for structure, overachieving, and ways in which children and teens learn to manage things that are out of their control. Oftentimes that's related to family distress, strain, discord in their lives in some way, and food and their bodies become a way to regulate a lot of the intense emotions that come up in those other areas of their lives. What they begin believing is that if I control what I eat and I can control what I look like, which allows me to gain certain kinds of access or kind of status in the world or in my family, then I will be okay and I will be safe. What happens is that crosses a threshold and then they develop this preoccupation with food and their weight and looking a certain way or being a certain way in the world that it begins to hijack a lot of their functioning. And they become so focused on regulating and controlling these ways that they actually lose control over themselves. What's really important for you to pay attention to, right, as you're continuing to learn and grow with your child and learning their moods, learning their interests, learning what they like to do and who they like to be around, you want to pay attention to very specific symptoms that might note to you that there's a change in how your child is functioning. One of the ones that can be easiest to notice is that there's a significant weight loss or weight gain. Paying attention to what your child is ingesting, paying attention to how they're talking about their body, paying attention to how they're talking about other people's bodies. If you're noticing that they're beginning to make disparaging remarks about their body, they're comparing themselves to others, whether that be other children, whether that be you, whether that be images on TV or movies. If they're making comments where they're criticizing themselves a bit more, they don't like their skin or their face or parts of their body, fat on their body, how their body looks in the mirror. If you notice that they're beginning to pay so much attention to how clothes fit, again, typically connected with disparaging remarks. We also want to pay attention to, as they're engaging with their friends, right? Who are they talking to? Who are they socializing with? How are their friends talking about their bodies? What are they noticing about themselves? You certainly want to pay attention to anything around food restrictions, right? Or overeating. If you're noticing this is not them feeling hungry one day or kind of maybe 1 week, but they're beginning to either restrict food, they're beginning to say things like, I can't eat that. They're beginning to associate food with calories or fat, or even beginning to use language around good and bad foods. You want to pay attention to that kind of language because that tells you that they're trying to control for something and there's something they're trying to get from controlling this food.